Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler. Got a great show planned for you tonight. Listen, there's some big news out of New England. It started on Monday. NBC has doubled down on this news that Robert Kraft will move on from Bill Belichick at the end of the season and perhaps may trade him. Also, I've got Keith Engel from TGI Sports going to come on the program. Going to talk a little college football. Keith is out of upstate New York, but he is a huge New England Patriots fan. I want to ask him about that situation. His thoughts on the college football playoff. Keith has been spot on for the majority of his predictions in the college football playoff predictions. Now, he did say that he thought that Georgia would win 3 straight. He wasn't right about that, but he's been pretty spot on about a lot of other things. Quite frankly, he said he thinks Will Levis may be the best quarterback. He said that last year at last year's draft, and guess what? Levis is doing pretty well right now. Of course, it's early. It's just one season. We need more starts. Now, Stroud, it's his rookie of the year to lose. He might not make it. He might not even play this week against the Titans. But either way, let's go ahead and get our first and only break out of the way. I'll be back here in 49 seconds here on Sports Scope. We'll hit the ground running. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then. Okay, just like I teased before the break there, folks. Okay, now, again, Monday, NBC came out with a report that after the Patriots had lost in Germany to the Indianapolis Colts, that Robert Kraft has made the decision he will move on from Bill Belichick. Today, Mike Florio, who's with Pro Football Talk, which now NBC owns, he is doubling down in how he's saying that Robert Kraft would like to trade Belichick to another team. Remember, he made a trade with the Jets back in 2023 years ago to get Bill Belichick there. John Gruden was traded technically. He was traded from the Raiders, Pickles, to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it's not out of the question for a coach like a player to be traded. Belichick's got 1 year, $20 million left on his contract for next year. And Kraft, like I said, Kraft would like to trade him. Listen, the Patriots, they won last week, this time last week. They beat Pittsburgh. By the way, I guess I like the Raiders, but, you got 2 backup quarterbacks, one lame duck coach and another interim coach. Amazon couldn't ask for a worse game. I think the Raiders will win, but I wouldn't bet the house on it. So anyways, and that was one I was looking at, Pickles. That was one that I was looking at. Pickles says trade to the Bears. Listen, the Patriots are 3-10. They still have the second pick. They play Kansas City on Sunday, by the way. Hey, Rick, good to see you, man. So you look at this, again, 1 year left on his contract. Belichick will be 72 in April, okay? I want to say Nick Saban's already 72. I was ironically, when I was doing research for this story, Rick Pickles, I had the old Game Day from last weekend from ESPN recorded, and Belichick was on there for the Army-Navy game because it was played up in Foxborough, had Robert Kraft not on. That was funny. They weren't on at the same time. Belichick came on, very friendly, very cordial with the ESPN Game Day people here. And, look good. Look good. Had a nice suit on and everything. But I'll say this. Only team that I can think of right off the top of my head that would be an excellent fit where Belichick would not have to deal with the drafting or anything like that. It's ready-made would be this LA Charger team. I couldn't imagine Mr. Spanos bringing back Brandon Staley. Listen, I mean, you got Justin Herbert, you got your quarterback, you got your left tackle, Rashawn Slater. You got 2 Pro Bowl level, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, although Williams is often injury prone. They are on contract for next year. So these guys will be back next year. You got Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, also elite pass rushers back next year. You got Asante Samuel Jr. Now, it's funny. Belichick coached his dad, Asante Samuel Sr., and his dad was bad-mouthing Belichick. But on paper, if you just take the fact that it was in California, I don't know if he would want to move to California for 2 or 3 years. But in the back of his mind, as competitive as Belichick is, he wants to at least tie. He wants to at least have another Super Bowl win or have a good shot at a Super Bowl win without Tom Brady to prove that he is the real deal. That's just food for thought, okay? And listen, the Chargers who hired Keelan Moore last year, who was fired from Dallas. That didn't work out. The Spanos family, will they pay up? I mean, this is a tremendous opportunity to get the Chargers back on the map to compete with the Rams, USC, all that competition in the LA area. Dodgers just got Ohtani. This would be amazing to see Bill Belichick with that team, even if it is for just 2 or 3 years, to see if he can squeeze a Super Bowl with a Justin Herbert. They would immediately, I'm sure he would bring McDaniels, who's been fired from the Raiders. He would probably get the old gang back together and move out west, even if it is for just a couple of years, in my opinion. Now, Pickles makes a good point. What about the Bears? Bears, they have the number 1 pick with the Carolina Panthers, plus they have their first-round pick, and they've got the most money. You're talking over $100 million in cap space. Belichick has been a terrible general manager. Would he be able to work with the young Ron Poles there? That's I don't think he would want. He would probably want to draft a Drake May, a Michael Penix. I don't think he would want to stay with a Justin Fields up there in Chicago. Those are like Chicago would be like a 25% chance. The other one would obviously be the LA Chargers at 75%. Ollie ready-made. We already know Justin Fields can play. Or Belichick would be option 3, simply retire at the end of the season with his age and all. Couldn't write that out of the question. What do you guys think? Maybe he's made $100 million. He's made 20 last year. I know he's made over 16 for the last few years. Look at all the Super Bowls he's won. Robert Kraft is not a stingy owner. I'm pretty sure he's made 80, 90, $100 million. Any TV jobs, it was funny that he went on Game Day. Maybe that was like a preview of what's to come. A much more lighter side of Bill Belichick I saw this afternoon when I watched a recorded Game Day from last week from the Army-Navy game. So it's a lot to be discussed here. Rick says they were wearing Rick. Yeah, hey, you too, brother. Good to see you. Good to see you. Bill did a great show showing his human side. Loved him squeezing the helmet. Yeah, and him and Lee Corso, they were reminiscing about the times. Lee Corso coached with his dad. His dad started coaching with Lee Corso. I think it was that Navy. Yeah, at Navy back in 1956. That's the year both of my parents were born. But so Mr. Belichick, I mean, Lee Corso is almost 90, folks. That tells you how many miles he's got on it. Looks pretty good to be that. Chargers are ready made for a real coach. Yeah. I mean, I just got this vision. Bill's got a very young, good-looking wife, plenty of money. And Rick, like Rick said, he looked great the other day. They got a big win last Thursday, over the Patriots. So, could this work out? I think it could work out short term. I've read some, stuff on the internet that, he's born in Nashville. He wants to come home. Would the Titans trade Mike Vrabel for Bill Belichick with the Patriots? That would be wild. I wouldn't want that, not unless Bill's wanting to work with. The whole thing with the Titans is Belichick cannot pick the players. Pat McAfee said, "You're a great general manager." I thought McAfee, he's not a great general manager. He's an excellent coach. He's had the greatest quarterback of all time. He's been a terrible general manager, specifically on the offensive side over the last 5 to 6 years, maybe even going back maybe to 7 years. Okay. He's got his kids up there working with him. There's a reason why they're 3-10, folks. Okay. He's really dropped the ball. Whoever he works with, only thing, and if I'm the owner, I said, "Listen, man, I'll give you $25 million, but we need a general manager here to pick the players." Okay. We don't want the situation. That wouldn't be the situation in LA. Now, of course, Chicago, you do have DJ Moore to throw to. He's shown that he's all that and a bag of chips. Cole Kmet, Darnell Wright, right tackle, got a decent left tackle there, got some pieces on defense. It's not a total full rebuild in Chicago. They've already got a few pieces intact, and they've got a boatload of cash. He's going to have to work with this guy. I know he's old enough to be Poles' dad, but that would be my limitations with Belichick. You've got to work with one. Last time you worked with one, I think was like 15 years ago. And I know Keith would memorize this guy's name. Rick, you might remember. That was the guy they had back in 2007, 2008. That's the last time they had a real general manager. And he moved on and took jobs other places there. But that's going to be my only issue with Belichick, So I don't know what's going to happen. I do know that something's going to go down after the season's over with between him and Robert Kraft. It's not going to be business as usual. Ideally, I like Belichick. I really like. He's born in my home state. I want to say we're born in the same hospital, Baptist Hospital. I'd like to see him do something. I would like to see them go out, hire a real general manager, and Belichick work with them, and let Bill O'Brien, going back to other reports, was it Albert Breer? I want to say he's out of Boston area also. He was saying Belichick was meddling with Bill O'Brien in the offensive play calling, in the scheming there. So, if it ain't one thing, it's another, man. He's hanging on too tight, he's hanging on too tight. He reminds me, now I know there's a big difference here. Again, when Lane Kiffin got the job in USC, said it was a dream job. He got too crazy, got too intense. He hung on that job too tight, and it blew up in his face. Same thing with, and these are college people. I know Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M hanging on too tight from everything I read. And, of course, we know what happened there. He just recently got fired from Texas A&M. But let's see how this plays. Something's going to go down. I'd like to see him get that Charger job and go ahead and win another Super Bowl and then walk away in the sunset at 74-75 if he chooses to. All right. Okay, got one more thing to talk about before Keith comes in. Okay, now last week, I want to say my points against the spread, man, was I really off here. I picked the over in the Cleveland game, Cleveland and Jacksonville last week. I should have just picked Cleveland to win. I was off there. They said early weather reports going back to last week between Browns Jacksonville. Early reports last week were that it was going to be really windy up in Cleveland. It's been like that before, and it was going to be crazy weather, and Trevor Lawrence might not play. Well, the wind was calm, and Lawrence did play, even though he's hobbling around. But Cleveland did win that game, but it did hit the over. I was off on that, and I was off on the Ravens. Ravens took the Rams too lightly. They took the Rams too lightly. I had them minus 7.5. They did win. They did win, but they didn't get that half point. Okay. So bad week. Now my biggest games of the week, I was 4-1 last week. Only loss was the Atlanta and Tampa game. Now, I'll say this, folks. Here's an observation. Here. Every team that was on a bye week last week, the week before last, Pickles, won. Every team. And think about it. A lot of these teams were big underdogs. Buffalo was an underdog. They won at Kansas City. I predicted that. The Bears were a 3-point underdog. Now, they were at home, but they were an underdog. Okay? They won. The Giants were a 6-point underdog to the Green Bay Packers. They won on Monday night. The Raiders and the Vikings, they both come off bye weeks. And, of course, the Vikings won. The Vikings were slightly favored there. It was a 3-0 god-awful game. But, again, there were 2, 4, 5, 6 teams on bye. 2 played each other. The other 4 won because they're off of late November, December bye weeks. Okay, late bye weeks, teams have a pretty high winning percentage. Okay, Arizona will be off a bye week this week, and I want to say they play. I can't remember who I want to say they play like the Rams or somebody. But anyways, but the Commanders play. The Commanders play. They play at the Rams. Excuse me. Commanders are 6.5-point underdogs. Now, of course, the Commanders. Now it's saying that the Dodgers agreed to a huge trade. I don't know. The Commanders here. I don't know if they'll be able to hold it within 6.5. But I'll say this. Both secondaries are terrible. Okay. We saw the game that Lamar had. It's anywhere from 20 to 25th or worse with the Rams secondary. Okay. Rams, you could throw on them all. I mean, Lamar Jackson was throwing on them in the rain, folks. It was pouring down rain last week. You can throw on the Rams like nobody's business. That over and under's 50.5. I think the Commanders, who put 30 points on the Eagles twice, and by the way, the Commanders, it leaves without saying, they gave up the most passing touchdowns in NFL. You know, their last game was a 25-point loss to the Miami Dolphins. All right. You got Puka Nacua. You've got, what's the star's name there? Cooper Kupp. All right. Tutu Atwell. This is NLA, fast track. Rams got plenty to play for. And then the other hand, you got Terry McLaurin, Sam Howell, kind of slowed down a little bit at quarterback there. So you've got pieces there on both sides there. Antonio Gibson looks like he might be playing. I don't know if Brian Robertson is going to play or not. But, 50.5. Yeah, I can see this being a 34-27 type of game. I could see the over in L.A. I could see a possible Washington Commander, and you could alternate this spread plus, say, an 8.5 for the Commanders off this bye week. Again, all the teams that won off bye weeks last week won. They won. Now, 2 played each other, but still. You get my point. So I think that is a game to look at, folks. I know Ron Rivera is going to be fired. I get that, but these players are all playing for themselves. They're all looking to look good for the new organization, the new coaching staff that's going to be coming in next year. I'm pretty sure they're going to go offensive minded. But I do like the over now, 50.5 at LA. Yeah, that's going to be a fast track game. Not a lot of punts there. Okay, listen. Now, this is weird, folks. Dallas Cowboys at the Bills. The Dallas Cowboys are a 1.5 underdogs at Buffalo. And I looked and looked and looked, and there are no major injury situations with the Dallas Cowboys. Okay. Both teams, we know, come off big games last week. All right. Both of these teams come off big games last week. That really needs without saying. Bills, last minute play there with that offsides call pretty much, cost the Chiefs a game with Kadarius Toney lining up offsides. Okay, Dallas played at home, run rough shot on the Philadelphia Eagles. This game will be played in Buffalo. It's a little throwback here. Jim Jeffcoat, I do a show with him on Sundays. That's a team the Cowboys beat twice in the Super Bowl, folks, going back to 92 and 93. But, I was really surprised that the Cowboys are actually underdogs. Bills still have holes in their defense, folks. They still got problems at linebacker. They still got what's his name? Poyer. He might not play at safety. They've had problems with Hyde and Poyer. Those guys, those two safeties have been banged up all year long. Not really thinking there's going to be a weather situation. There may be about a 50% chance of rain in the second half. But not only, I like the Cowboys here to get the win 27-22, feeling a little disrespected, having a much better record than the Buffalo Bills. Maybe the odds maker saying they're going on the road after a tough game. But, hey, the Bills had a tough game, Both teams had a tough game. It was not really a tough game. The Cowboys dominated. I guess Vegas is saying that they're not that good on the road, but hey, man, they, without the injuries, they played well on the road. So they're underdogs. I like Cowboys 27-22. So I think that's a good play there. Cowboys plus 1.5 here. Yeah, Pickle. Yeah, that's right. He went to Buffalo and Dallas. So Jim will be thinking about this game this weekend, if you ask me. All righty then. Okay. Now, this next game is kind of tricky, but the more I think about it, Jacksonville, injuries keep mounting. ETN's banged up. Zay Jones. There's two Zays in this game, by the way. How ironic. Baltimore will play at Jacksonville. Now, last time these two teams played, Jacksonville did beat them. Okay? Jacksonville did beat them. Baltimore came out their bye last week. They were caught looking ahead a little bit they were caught looking ahead in this Rams game. Everybody's probably reminding Lamar that he's like 17-1 against NFC teams, and they almost got their butt kicked. But looking back, looking at their injury report, the Ravens don't have really any injuries. They're doing pretty good. They had their late bye week. Jacksonville played one of the more physical teams in the NFL. Played Cleveland, lost to Cleveland. I'm telling you, Cleveland's a lot more banged up than Baltimore is. Baltimore's going to look good. Lawrence, now this will be a primetime game. I'm sure this game will be close early. But I'll tell you what, Jacksonville, weather looks good. Lamar, very, good chemistry. Odell Beckham, Zay Flowers having a very good rookie season. I wonder if maybe he can possibly get Rookie of the Year if Stroud don't play these last few games. He's having a great season. I know Tajay Spears as a rookie running back for Tennessee. He leads all rookie running backs. So that Rookie of the Year is going to be interesting. I thought it was Stroud's to lose, but now if Stroud misses in a few games, he might not play Sunday with this concussion. If he misses multiple games with this concussion, that might throw him out of Rookie of the Year. You'd hate for that to happen, but that's just the way the league is. Remember last year, we all thought that Jalen Hurts would get Rookie of the Year, and he didn't get it when he got hurt in the Bears game and missed the last 3 games, 3 of the last 4 games of the season, and it cost him Rookie of the Year, and Patrick Mahomes ended up getting it, okay? But there's a 4-point game there. I see the Ravens winning. Now, the Ravens are much healthier. They are on the road, but I could see this Ravens winning 26-20, covering that 4-point spread there in Jacksonville. Now, Jacksonville has a way of playing over their head in these situations, but, again, up and down the defensive side, we know Trevor Lawrence. He may have tweaked that. I mean, he's got a high ankle sprain, and he's going against the defense that leads the NFL in sacks. They lead the NFL. The Ravens defense leads the entire NFL in sacks, okay? And we don't know if Walker, his left tackle, who's the backup, is even going to play. I'm surprised, and he took some shots in that other game, by the way. Trevor Lawrence, I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't a late scratch in this game. That was very risky playing him last week. He played better than I thought he would. I guess they shot him up with something. But this is a much more healthier, a little bit quicker than Cleveland defense here. I don't know if I would do that, but this is going to be a good game. I still like Baltimore to win and cover that 4 points. I think that's a good play. And again, Dallas being underdogs, that's unbelievable. Dallas plus 1.5 at Buffalo. That feels like a gimme. According to the injury report, and unless there's something Vegas sees that I don't, I like Dallas. Yeah, 27-22. I know Josh Allen's a big playmaker. That Dallas defense is they're rolling right now. Stephon Gilmore against Stephon Diggs. Stephen Gilmore against Stephon. That's ironic. Trayvon Diggs, who's hurt, he plays with Dallas, and his brother, Stephon Diggs, is playing for the Bills. So, anyways, there's Keith Engel, which I've just got a bunch of questions for Keith here. Hashtag Ask Keith, right? From TGI Sports. Hey, Keith, how you doing, man?
Hello, Robert. Hello. How you doing?
Good. I'm great, man. And, I was thinking, I really want to get Keith's take on all these college stories. But then I read that Monday, there was a story in NBC that Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft, has made a decision after the Colts game in Germany that he's going to move on from Belichick. Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk today, he's doubling down on that story. And now they're saying that Kraft would like to trade Bill Belichick. What's your thoughts on all that?
I've kind of said that from the beginning. And the funny part is that they report this like it's breaking news. And we've heard this story pretty much since week 10. Tom Kernan in Boston reported this week like nobody had ever heard the story before. And I mean, there were stories.
Think people didn't believe it, Keith. I didn't really believe it.
There were stories when he went to Germany. If they lost, he was done. He wasn't even going to be coming back.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've said all along that he would probably stay here because if he wants to coach next year, I think Robert Kraft will want to get something for that because he might be worth as much as a number 1 pick. I mean,
wow.
The greatest coach in NFL history, right?
Yeah.
So,
Can you believe he makes $20 million? This article said he makes $20 million.
Well, nobody knows, so I wouldn't doubt it. It's always been top secret. This extension that he signed last week has been, if you read it, you're going to get knocked off if you know what's going on. Nobody knew how many years it was. It's only one more year.
That's what I was supposed to say. Pro Football Talk said it's just 1 year.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's $20 million for 1 year.
Oh, it's a big secret that it even happened. Nobody even talked about this extension until this season started.
They're so covert, ain't they?
Yeah, so I mean, his salary's always been a very highly kept secret, but $20 million, I don't doubt that. And again, I think Robert Kraft will leverage this as much as he can to get himself some draft capital.
Do you think a Charger team would go? Would you think the Chargers would go out? It seems like they would be a great fit. Yeah,
it's funny. To me, that's the best fit. I mean, this guy is going to be 72
in April.
Is that me?
Is that one of your sources, man?
I got something. I have no idea what's going on here. I hear all kinds of noise. I don't know what's going on. Let me just get out of this thing. Maybe it's that. Okay. Sorry, I lost my.
Go ahead.
Bill Belichick. If I'm Bill Belichick, I'm going to be 71, 72 years old. I'm not going somewhere I need a 5-year plan, right? I want to go somewhere that's got a quarterback, that's got some talent on both sides of the ball, and San Diego's really the best fit. When you look at that, what other job's going to be open that has that many tools already in place? And look at that team needs a head coach, because that guy out there, I mean,
I saw him on game day last week. I recorded it. He was on game day talking up Navy. Won't they move the Chargers back to San Diego, close to that naval base, and hire Bill Belichick?
He was good at, it's funny.
Yeah, he was really nice, wasn't he?
It's good that people, because I've seen this before. Yeah. He does have a personality. You see him, week in and week out during the football season. You wouldn't think so, but he does have a personality, and I thought it came out pretty good Saturday on game day. I'm glad people got to see that. He was on the wrong side, but he's not going to pick Army. Well, his dad was at the Naval Academy for decades, so he wasn't going to.
Corso coached him back in '56.
Yeah,
that's where my dad was born, man. That's when his dad started at Navy.
They had some great video that I'd seen before of Corso, and also some video of Belichick's dad, who again was there for decades. Corso was only there for a couple of years. Yeah, but that was fun to see.
What do you expect is going to happen here? Just to part ways, like we've been talking about.
It seems inevitable. I mean, part of me doesn't want it to happen, I guess, because now I've got to once it happens, I got to totally let go of what was, right? And I want him to be able to build this back up to at least a semblance of what it was.
Our general manager, he's so stubborn, man.
That's the thing. And I tell people this, they go, the game's passed him by. And I don't think the game's passed him by as a coach, but I do think it's passed him by as a GM and maybe a talent evaluator, because you watch games, and if you watch close enough, there's the athleticism on this team is so lacking compared to some other teams when they line up against them.
Right.
Speed wise.
I read they're the slowest offense in the NFL.
It's not fun to watch what he's put together here. And if he fired himself as GM, you're right. I mean, he'd be better off as a coach. And I don't think he wants to admit that this mess can't be fixed by his own methods. And we're here because of the way he drafted leading up to Tom Brady leaving, not because it just went bad overnight.
They're still got that 2 pick, even though they won last week, Keith.
Yeah, this was years in the making, this mess. And the defense is very, very good, by the way. Even missing maybe its 2 best players in Judon and Gonzalez. I read today, in games where they've given up, 4 games they've given up less than 10 points. They've only won 1 of them.
Part of me thinks taking them that +9. I didn't put that on my games against the spread, but it's tempting to take that 9 points against Kansas City at home.
It is. Every time I do that, I get burned. So I'm telling you. It's hard. It's hard. It's funny. The rest of that stat is, by the way, Patriots have given up 10 or less points in 4 games and are 1-3. The rest of the NFL is 53-0.
Oh, God. That tells you how bad the offense is.
That tells you all you need to know about this season, Patriots.
Couldn't throw a peanut in the ocean, like my dad would say.
Well, I mean, they scored They scored more points in the first half last week than they scored in the last 4.
Oh,
Jeez.
man.
It was terrible.
Yeah. I had the under in that game, and that killed me.
Oh, I mean, the San Diego, the 2 weeks ago, that San Diego Patriot game set offensive football back decades, for crying out loud. That was awful on both sides of the football. Jeez.
Yeah. I don't think if Brandon Staley survives, that guy just don't care about nothing.
Yeah, there's no way he survives this mess, especially after some of the faux pas he's had in the playoffs and then not getting to the playoffs the year before because of horrible game management, and it's gone on and on and on. And this year, the team looks like they quit.
Yeah, they do.
And
now Herbert's out. I mean, what a disaster of a game. They're playing tonight.
Yeah, they may as well lose out and be done with it, for crying out loud.
That's what I say about Tennessee. I was kind of disappointed that they beat Miami the other night.
Listen, I got to ask you this question.
Yeah.
So I'll turn to
Go ahead.
It's not my show, but
anytime, man.
I was a huge proponent of Will Levis coming out of the draft. I said at the end of the day, maybe he isn't right now, but at the end of the day, he'd be the best quarterback out of last year's draft. What do you think about him so far as your starting quarterback?
I had that wrote down here. We've only got not even a full season yet between him and Stroud.
Yep.
DeAndre Hopkins, they had a little spat last week.
Yep.
Him and DeAndre Hopkins supposedly made up. DeAndre Hopkins saying this guy's going to be great. That fire in him, that's very Tom Brady-like.
It is very much.
He acts like he won the Super Bowl Monday night, man.
Yep. That was a great game for them. Great comeback.
I thought about you, too. I thought, man, he does look good. Maybe Keith is right,
I've been putting up with a lot of abuse from draft night until he got the starting. And that first game, I was like, my chest was all puffed out when he had that great game the first time he started. And, maybe it doesn't carry on. But I still think, Stroud's playing great. But I think when you start to look back at this draft a few years from now, you're going to say you got the best of these guys.
That would be really, usually guys like Hopkins do not say stuff like same thing. I said this about Trent Williams. When Trent Williams said this about Brock Purdy last year, he's getting $20 million a year. He don't have to kiss nobody's rear end. Trent Williams, the left tackle, he said, no, this guy's good. He's got this playbook down. My only complaints about Will Levis is him trying to tank on was it our defensive back or line, ducking his shoulder like that. That's my only complaint. He's got to protect himself.
He got himself hurt in college a couple times that way as well. He's got that Josh. Oh my
Allen.
God, I forgot his name already.
Darnold syndrome.
He's yesterday's news. I forgot all about him. He's got that Josh Allen mentality, right? He wants to take guys on rather than, and he'll learn. Hopefully, he'll learn to get out of the way of those guys because they can hurt you.
Yeah, I really hope that they continue to build around him, and I'm higher on him now than I was after the Falcon game because he's a communicator. The guy we got from what's it, Mariota? He was not. He's very quiet.
Yeah,
very very tentative. A lot of the Titans quarterbacks have been like that, except for Steve McNair. And this guy, he kind of reminds me of a Troy Aikman, a Marine, as far as being vocal and telling people, hey, man, line up over here, do this, do that. He's only a rookie, so he's only going to be more assertive as things go along. So right now, so far, so good, as long as he can stay healthy, man.
Yeah, I think you got a good guy there. To Pickle's comment, if the Patriots were monitoring me, they'd be a lot better off right now than they are today. I'll tell you right now.
Pickle saying running headfirst at linebacker. Yeah, that's very Sam Darnold crap, and Darnold's hurt all the time with the Jets.
Yeah, and Levis, he's a tough guy, but you can only do that so many times where you're gonna get hurt. So
that's how Garoppolo got hurt a few years ago. Remember that?
Yeah, and he's not a big. He doesn't. Garoppolo doesn't strike you as a Will Levis type either, or Josh Allen type, where he's
But he did that crap with that's how he got started getting hurt. He ain't never got healthy ever since.
I agree.
Yeah. So what do you think about Florida State being left out? I've been wanting to ask you this for weeks, man.
Well, it's funny. On my own college football show, I've been getting ripped for my take from some of the the SEC elitists mostly. I think Florida State got royally screwed here. I mean, they're the only team in this 14 playoff era that ever went undefeated in a major conference, won their conference tournament or a conference title, and did not get an invite, and a one-loss team did. And I think I understand it. I don't care that they might have gone and got beat by 30. They deserved a chance to go and play for the title. Yeah. And give them credit. I mean, I understand the committee can take injuries into effect. Yeah. I don't think they really should, though. I mean, that team found a way to win 2 games, albeit not very pretty, against Florida and Louisville they did it one with their third string quarterback who hadn't taken any snaps with the first team at all, even in practice most of the year.
The backup, wouldn't he be available for the playoff?
He will be available, and I'm very interested in that Orange Bowl game, Florida and Florida State. Georgia and Florida State. Yeah. It won't change my opinion. If they get beat by 30, it will not change my opinion. It will. Other people will go, yeah, see, we told you they shouldn't be there. To me, it's irrelevant what happens in that game.
What do you think about these politicians fouling suit because they're going to lose money because of this?
Yeah, I heard that DeSantis put $1 million aside for any kind of law. Well, who are you going to sue? What are you going to do? I mean, you're still going to a bowl game. You're getting a lot of money. I mean, I'm not saying Alabama and Texas aren't deserving as well, but only 4 can go. And the way I heard it too, and here's what I think too, before I go to this other point.
Yeah.
I really think they left them out because they did not want to have to look at Texas and Alabama head to head and make a decision and say Texas's win over Alabama back in September doesn't matter because Alabama was bad and they got much better.
Right.
Well, so what? I mean, the games all count. And I don't think they wanted to look at that and make a decision and leave one of those teams out. Alabama at the end of the season has the best victory of anybody by beating Georgia.
Yeah.
But for most of the season,
they've had some close ones though.
Yeah, but for
near losses.
But for most of the season, Texas had that best win. It was over Alabama. I know Alabama wasn't that strong then, and they got better, but you can't just throw that game out the window and not look at it. See, I think they didn't want to look at that and have to make that decision whether to leave Alabama or Texas out. So it was easier to leave Florida State out and they get less grief. Who cares if the ACC cries? Because that's my opinion.
Something, the more I think about it, we're talking 4 or 5 weeks between the time they played that championship game until New Year's Day, 6 weeks or whatever. They could have come up with something to have a good game plan. Look at all these teams in the NFL with backup quarterbacks. Florida State, so you really got a good point. They probably should have let Florida State in, even if it was taken out of Alabama. And my thing was, my initial reaction was like everybody else's. God, I don't want to see them getting blown out by Texas or Alabama.
Listen, I don't either. Robert, I don't want to see that either. But this team earned the right to go have that happen to them. They just have, in my mind.
Yeah,
and to your point,
did everything they're supposed to do.
Yeah, if this was the NFL and your starting quarterback got hurt going into the playoffs, you wouldn't say, "Okay, you guys are staying home. We'll put somebody else in there." That doesn't happen anywhere else.
Yeah, Jake Browning won the other day.
And you find a way. That team, you penalize the rest of that team. They got there's a lot of good football players on that team besides the starting quarterback. A lot of NFL guys
on that offense and defense.
Defense is really good, and they found a way to win with a third-string quarterback over the 14th ranked team in the country. I understand it wasn't somebody from the SEC. I know it wasn't Georgia, but it was a 14th ranked team in the country, and something should be said for that. I also heard this week, talking about the committee. I got a couple other comments about the committee.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I heard this week that in one of the later votes, before they had the final vote, Georgia was ahead of Florida State.
Wow.
In the 5th spot, and they said we got to vote again because we're going to get killed if we put Georgia. If we put Georgia ahead of Florida State, we're going to get killed. So this is what I heard. But here's my problem with the committee. I need more transparency. How far was Florida State behind Alabama in the voting? We don't know.
Yeah, that's what one of these politicians, I don't think it was it was one of the others. He said they want to see all that.
We should.
They actually got a good point if you think about it.
We see in the polls all year long with the AP poll and the coaches poll. You see the total points teams have, and you know how far somebody is behind somebody else. I mean, also, I'd like to see it. Liberty finish 1 spot ahead of SMU for the New Year's Day spot for the Group of 5.
Jalen Daniels, Heisman Trophy winner. They beat LSU at the beginning of the season.
How
so
far?
It wasn't like they had a weak non-conference.
I want to see the voting, and I don't know why we can't see it when we see it in every other poll that's out there. College basketball, college baseball, college football. You see the numbers in every one. Not this poll, though.
I've had Al Borges on my program. He was the offensive coordinator for the 2004 Auburn team.
I saw that interview. Very good.
Yeah, they got robbed. I mean, if you think about it, they went undefeated in the SEC.
Yeah. I mean, this system's still better. This would have been a great year to have a 12-team playoff start. This would have been some really good matchups. You would have had the standings they would have had to manipulate the standings a little bit because you would have had some conference games that would have been played. Like Georgia would have played Ole Miss again, and if the matchups stayed the way they are now. But so they probably would have manipulated that so you wouldn't see it early on in the tournament. But this would have been great. You would have had nobody with more than 2 losses. Every one of those teams would have been deserving. You would have had Liberty in there from the AAC with the automatic bid, and I think it would have been a lot of fun to see you. Actually, Liberty, if it was a 12-team playoff based off of this year's rankings, Liberty would have played Florida State in the first round. Actually,
wow!
So that would have been an interesting.
I can't wait, Keith. Next year, I was just looking at this today. December 7th will be the SEC championship game. December 19th. Less than 2 weeks. That's when the playoff starts, and it's going to start at one of the campuses. These game day people are going to have a field day with that.
It's going to be awful. I mean, awesome. I don't know how I got awful. Sorry. Freudian slip there.
Oh, man, you're like Mac. You want everything to be throwback.
Well, here's the thing. Right now, game day's done for the year, right? They're going to get they're going to get 3 or 4 extra weeks out of it. That advertising next year. So
I'll tell you, man. But what do you think about this playoff? This is really good, though. You got to admit, this is probably the best one ever, isn't it?
As far as
far as brand name,
putting my problems with FSU getting left out aside, I'm looking forward to these games. I think they're going to be really good. I like Washington's matchup. Actually, I think Washington might have a chance to win.
I like Washington. They're very physical.
Their defense is a little suspect, probably the weakest defense in the field, but they find a way to make just enough big plays. They did it twice against Oregon.
Yeah.
They didn't play great games, but they came up big in big spots. And if they can do that against Alabama, Alabama doesn't.
They got to play Texas, don't they?
First they got to play
Washington and Texas.
Correct. I'm sorry. Washington, Texas first. That game, the over should be pretty high. Probably going to be in the 70s. I think you'll see a lot of points scored there, and I do think they'll get by Texas, and I think they'll match up. I think Alabama will beat Michigan, and I think you'll see an Alabama-Washington final.
That's exactly what I said, Keith. Yeah. That is exactly I was really impressed with Washington's big win at Oregon State.
Yeah.
That neutral, they were 9.5-point underdogs in Vegas against Oregon.
I have no idea who put that line out or why, because if you weren't on Washington in that game, you were nuts because
I took Washington in the points. I should have took them to win outright. Carlos beat me on that one.
Oh, I liked it. I actually bet the money line because I loved Washington to win that game. But the 9.5 points, I mean, I could see a field goal, I suppose. Oregon was playing great football. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But
a lot of balance with Oregon. Running the ball well. But Bo Nix has always been, he's a nice kid, but geez, come on.
It's a good football team. Listen, I'm looking forward to that Liberty. I bring up Liberty again. You probably never heard Liberty on your show this much. I'm looking forward to the Liberty
Georgia?
They're playing Oregon, a Liberty Oregon game. I think it's a Fiesta Bowl, I'm pretty sure.
Bo Nix going to play? Is he going to play in that?
From what I heard, Bo Nix is playing. I haven't heard a lot about the guys who aren't playing. I know Sam Hartman's not playing for Notre Dame.
I wanted to ask you about Ohio State. Why is McCord the quarterback? Why is he transferring?
From what I heard, that Ryan Day told pretty much everybody on the team that nobody's job was safe next year. Everybody's job was going to be open for competition. He plans on bringing in, hitting the transfer portal hard. And McCord decided he was going to get out. I've heard that Nebraska might be the front runner there, but he hasn't moved yet anywhere. I think he'd be a great addition for Nebraska. That kid got better as the year went on. He's not a great quarterback, right? But He's a good game manager, and Ohio State's got a big hole right now at quarterback, and it's going to be interesting. I know they're going to hit the portal. They're going to find somebody to bring in there to run that offense.
Do you think Ryan Day's in trouble if they lose again to Michigan?
Boy, listen, depending on what happens in the NFL this year, when Black Friday rolls around or Black Monday rolls around, Ryan Day, I thought last year there was a possibility he might move. This year, maybe he's waiting for the Browns job to open up. I don't know, but you could see Ryan Day get out in front of the posse and head to the NFL before he gets fired. Maybe.
They brought in some players, though, man.
Listen, you can win all your other games, and if you lose that game, you're in trouble. John Cooper, if you remember back to when John Cooper coached there before, the guy with the sweater. Yeah, before the sweater vest guy.
And I like the sweater vest guy. I can't remember his name.
I can't either. I know I can't think of it. It'll come to me probably as soon as we sign off. But he was there before him. He won like 90% of his games, but he went 1-7-1 against Michigan, and you can't do that. You get fired. So
God, I got to remember Ohio State coach. Boy, he got it caught up in that. I bet somebody probably
he came from Youngstown State. Actually, he got
caught up in Tattoo Gate.
He got caught up in Tattoo Gate with the running back Maurice Clarett. Jim Tressel, thank you.
They beat that great Hurricane team. That was one of my favorite championship games of all time, Keith.
Great. That was a great game, actually. A lot of controversy at the end of that with a pass interference in the end zone, if you remember. Yeah. Right.
Every Hurricane fan says it was not pass interference.
Well, that's before I moved. That's before I became a Hurricane fan. I married into the Hurricane family after that was over. So. I wasn't necessarily a Hurricane fan at that time.
Maurice Clarett, he was the man. I thought he was going to be all that, man, in the NFL, but he had too many off the
with the stuff going on in college football today, can you imagine Jim Tressel gets fired over what went on there at Ohio State? That's amazing. Today it'd be nothing. It's a blip on the radar.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you think Jim Harbaugh's going to go to the NFL, or you think he's going to stay? What's going on with Jim Harbaugh, man?
I thought it was a pretty good bet he would not be back with Michigan, but now the rumors are he's got a big 5-year offer for $11 million a year.
Yeah, but he hasn't got it yet.
No, he hasn't got in front of him. Maybe it matters what happens in the playoff, whether he gets beat in the semis again and gets beat badly.
Yeah.
I thought he'd go back to the pros. I think he wants to go. Somebody's got to offer him a job, though. Nobody, last year he played up that Minnesota job. Nobody ever offered him a job, and he kind of used that as leverage to get himself.
Look at the Bears. Look at those picks, all that money.
Listen, if I'm the Bears or I'm the Raiders, perfect fit for those teams in my mind is Jim Harbaugh. Listen, whatever you people think about Jim Harbaugh, and he's a very polarizing figure. And
yes, he is.
You cannot like him because you think he's disingenuous or whatever. He's a good football coach, whatever else you want to think of him. Everywhere he's been, he coached at San Diego, which is nowhere in college football, and turned that program around.
Didn't he?
He went to Stanford, who was way down when he got
45-point underdogs at USC.
Yeah, he was very close to taking that team to a playoff when he had luck. He had Luck and McCaffrey there. He had some really good players there. No, but I don't think he had McCaffrey. He came later.
He had Luck, though.
He had Luck for sure. So he played
Griffin.
He goes to the 49ers and takes a team that was nowhere when he got there, and he didn't have a quarterback, and he tricked up an offense and got to a Super Bowl and nearly won it. And then he turned Michigan around. Whatever you want to think about the guy, he can coach.
Do you think he wants to be a general manager like Belichick?
Maybe his ego would want that, but I don't think it's a necessity. These guys, the way the game is today, you should just concentrate on one job. There's just too much to think about.
Too much going on, man. Too many analytics.
Salary cap stuff, and it's just crazy. I mean, you can hire guys to do that stuff. I get it, but I mean, I think the Belichicks of the world, there's very few guys who I think can do both jobs effectively today. The game, it's gotten too complicated. It's hard enough to coach in the NFL without worrying about all that other stuff. So,
yeah, I mean, I hate to sound like a recording. Yeah, Jimmy Johnson did it. He was only there 5 years.
No, Chad, no. I listen. Now I back myself into a corner here with Chad because now I
know Jim Harbaugh runs hot. I mean, we can all say it.
I don't think
he wears his welcome out everywhere he goes.
Yeah, I don't think
it when he's there though.
Yeah, to Chad's comment about the Patriots, I just don't think that that's Harbaugh's Bob Kraft's type of guy.
Him and Kraft be into it first day.
Yeah, I really think that it'll be. I'm having a bad day with names. Their former linebacker who they kept last year.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he used to play for Tennessee. I should memorize.
I'm having a horrible time with names today. I'm acting my age here tonight.
Yeah.
Anyway, they signed him to a very lucrative assistance contract to keep him from interviewing last year.
They're going to go defensive minded, even though Bill's defensive coordinator.
I think they will. They'll bring in a really strong offensive coordinator. Maybe they bring Josh McDaniel.
Yeah.
Gerald Mayo. Jeez, boy, I can't believe
to know that.
I think he's the guy that Kraft likes a lot. I know there's a lot of talk about Mike Vrabel, but I don't think it's going to be Mike Vrabel. I really don't.
Yeah.
Although I like Vrabel.
First round pick, and I don't know. Titans need an offensive minded. If they get rid of Vrabel, I want them to keep Vrabel, but I want offensive minded.
Yeah. It's funny at this point. You would think I would want an offensive coach as well, but I like Gerard Mayo, and I know that
he's a smart guy.
The players love him. Bob Kraft loves him, and I trust his judgment. I didn't like Belichick. I didn't like that hire when it worked out okay.
You didn't like Belichick when they hired him?
No, I was really against this. In the first year, they went 5-11. I'm like, I've told you. And then Mo Lewis became our MVP and almost killed Drew Bledsoe. I'm glad he didn't die. Thank you. But Mo Lewis, I've said for a long time, Mo Lewis is the MVP of that 20-year run by knocking Bledsoe out of that game.
Boy, you're just full of information. I do got to ask you this baseball question. It's huge. What's your thoughts about Ohtani doing the Bobby Bonilla $2 million a year for 10 years, delaying all that money? Did you hear about that?
I did. And that's funny how it didn't break for a few days after he signed that huge $700 million contract. And I mean, I can live on $2 million a year, so I guess I get it. Yeah. But
maybe in California, I don't know. He had to get a small apartment in California.
When you got a cap, and I mean, it's not a hard cap in baseball, but there's a tax if you exceed the. To me, this is circumventing the rules a little bit. I'm surprised that baseball allows this type of thing. $68 million is a lot of money to let you defer, right? Away from this year's cap or the next 10 years cap, and you can go out and sign because now they can go after Yamamoto, the kid from Japan. They can continue to go after
another Japanese. Is that what they're trying to do?
Oh, that's Ohtani's first job is to talk to him and see if he can talk to him to come to LA. And he said that he wants to play on a team with other Japanese stars. So I know where the biggest one is. I think the Dodgers got a good leg up for that kid now.
Wow. Remember that song, Sometimes I Feel Japanese?
I know the song. I don't know that I've ever felt Japanese, though. So. I'd like
everybody have fun tonight. Everybody,
Wang Chung. Yeah.
You ever watched Cheers? Remember that Kramer comes in?
Oh, I love
Frasier.
Seinfeld. That was Frasier. Yes, I love Frasier. I love Cheers.
I heard this really interesting song on the radio. Everybody have fun tonight.
Yep.
Everybody. Hey, I mean, I'm happy for him. He's not going to be pitching next year.
He won't
but at that kind of money, they're going to want him to pitch some in 25, perhaps, right?
I would be shocked if he didn't pitch in 25 for sure.
Yeah, for that kind of money, right?
He's not going to pitch, I don't think, every year after that for the next 10 years, I don't believe. I think at some point he'll probably jump.
Or something, a closer or something.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with him is, too, he doesn't have a position. He has to DH.
That's what
There's
they said.
Mookie
Betts they're playing Mookie Betts on the infield, what I was reading yesterday.
He played a lot of second base last year.
Yeah.
And fairly effectively. So they got tons of money. They can throw whatever money they want around. Yeah, I mean, you didn't ask this question, but I'll tell you, I don't like the Soto trade to the Yankees either because.
Oh yeah, why didn't they get pitching, man? I wanted to ask Carlos stat, but I know you're really good with.
We're going to talk about it tomorrow morning because I'm not happy with this trade because first of all, we got to find a way to sign them. But even more importantly than that, Judge has got to play center field every day now. I don't want that. That's not going to be good on that big body.
He is a big guy, man. He's going to have to start having knee problems.
I mean, they brought in Verdugo. They brought in Soto. They're both corner guys. Soto's a bad outfielder too, by the way, and he doesn't hustle. He's another guy who can't do the easiest thing you can do in sports, must run.
They need like relief pitching, man. What are they thinking? They're acting like the Jets did a few years ago.
They traded a couple of good pitching chips away too for Soto and for Verdugo. I mean, they got a nice center fielder back in Grisham, but how are you going to play him? Where's he going to play? You can't DH Soto and you can't DH Verdugo because you got that anchor of a contract in Stan. He's got a DH. He can't play anywhere else.
You think Steinbrenner, the dad, would let all this happen?
Well, it might be worse if George was around, to be honest with you. People, it's funny.
Just start firing people. You know how he is.
When George died, there was a lot of revisionist history about how George turned the Yankees around, and he did in the 70s, but he also made a mess of them.
He want to sell a couple of jerseys, man.
He also made a mess of them from the mid 80s to the mid 90s, and
they were bad in the mid 80s.
The Yankees didn't come back until he got suspended again. And George Michael, good grief.
He must be thinking about you. No.
I don't think George Michael had anything to do with the Yankees turnaround. Gene Michael and Buck Showalter are the one who built that dynasty that Joe Torre took the championships.
Is that the general manager before Cashman, that guy you just mentioned?
Gene Michael, yeah.
Gene Michael. So really Cashman's living off of that guy's, Michael's moves.
Yeah, because he came in there at the tail end of that dynasty, right, in the early 2000s. And he's been to 2 World Series since 2003. That's not good enough. So the Giants have been to more than that. They got as many World Series victories as the Royals.
Wow.
I mean, come on, this is the Yankees. 1 World Series in 20 years? That's good enough? No.
Man. Yeah, that's just not very – it's not very sexy in air quotes to bring in some pitchers and get a better farm system, and develop somebody.
You talked about the bullpen, but the rotation's a mess behind Cole.
I don't know anybody other than Cole. Do you?
Well, I mean, Cortez, if he's healthy, will be, hopefully he'll be back and pitching like he did 2 years ago. But Rondon was a bust, as I said he would be last year. I'm sure I came on this show and like I did every other show.
I like to hear the Yankees stuff. I mean, I used to live up there, man, and
what a
I lived up there and I hated them, but I still like them to be good because they're interesting to watch.
Michael King, they were stretching out to become a starter next year, and he went in the Soto trade. So listen, the rotation needs a lot of attention as well as the bullpen. I don't think Holmes ought to be the 8th inning guy, not the 9th inning guy. I don't like him.
Carlos, Ricky Henderson, and Deion Sanders. They was just trying to sell tickets, Carlos.
But they didn't win any championships or division titles with any of those guys. By the way. Not one.
Yeah, I just think of the Oakland A's when I think of Ricky Henderson in 1990 and 88.
Yeah, Sanders. Good grief.
Yeah, Carlos he's just trolling. He's trolling.
The only place he was ever a steady starter was up here in Albany when he was in Double-A.
Man. Ball. So when are your have you changed the times of your shows?
I don't think since we last been on, but we did change the time of Are You Serious from 8 to 9 o'clock on Fridays.
9 in the morning on YouTube,
Yeah, or 9 a.m. on Sunday, or 8:30 a.m., excuse me, on the Sunday Stream of Consciousness, 7 o'clock on Wednesdays with the football. Well, now the sports college huddle. We'll get into basketball now.
You talk college basketball on that show?
Yeah, we started to pivot a little bit. Excuse me.
Go ahead, man.
We started to pivot a little bit this past Wednesday, but obviously we'll still be full bore football through the bowl games if any of them matter until we get to the playoff. But
wow,
we'll talk a little.
Plays Iowa. How boring and football,
There's some really bad games, man. But yeah, we started to pivot to a little bit of basketball this week, and when the football's over, we'll be very heavy into NCAA right through the March Madness.
But this time next year, you'll be in playoffs, man. We're talking 12-teamer.
I'm telling you, let's hope that we have this type of field that would have been there this year. It would have been a great field for a 12-team playoff this year.
Or maybe talk the NBA. Draymond Green he knocked another guy out the other day.
Yeah. Yeah, Deion also, I remember. So yeah, Deion was on those teams, Carlos. He did not. I'm glad you said went to a few World Series with the Braves because he didn't participate a lot. I can tell you.
I don't think he won when they. No, I don't think they won with Deion.
They did win, actually.
95.
No, they did win one because I remember Tim McCarver being in the locker room interviewing players and Deion dousing him and Tim McCarver going, "It's always the guys who do the least that want to celebrate the most."
Yeah, that's very classy, Deion.
A lot of classy,
like that.
Very classy, Deion. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw the doc. Was it the 30 for 30 on Deion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great athlete. Listen, not take nothing away from him. He's a great athlete, but he was far from a very good, a great baseball player. So. He wasn't Bo Jackson.
He just make great plays every now and then.
He wasn't Bo Jackson, who if he wanted to play baseball full time, he'd have been one of the best ever, and he stayed healthy.
Yeah,
he would have been the best ever. He come back after he had a hip replacement and played baseball and hit 25 home runs
with the White Sox, I think.
Yeah,
he sure did. Wow, Keith Engel, man, you knock it out of the park today, man.
Yeah,
you're like Aaron Judge in July.
Fired up. It's Christmas. I'm fired up. I get fired up around Christmas time.
Hey, man, you have a merry. If I don't talk to you between now and then, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, buddy.
You too. Same to you. And anytime you need to chat, need somebody to rant and rave, I'm your guy.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Probably after New Year's when Michigan, Alabama. Well, that's got to be 25 million people watch that game, man.
Quite possibly. I don't even know who's got ESPN's got the games, right? I think they have all the games. Yeah, I think ESPN.
I don't know. I just know it comes on at 4 Eastern or 5 Eastern, 4 Central. I wish it came on earlier because the other game's coming on in the middle of the night. Some of us got to work on January 2nd.
Are they playing the 2nd or are they playing on New Year's Day?
New Year's Day.
Yeah.
But I got to work the next day.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least they're not playing New Year's Eve where they really hurt their own crowd, their own
That's true.
audience, right? I mean, people are not sitting in front of their TV necessarily on New Year's Eve. So
I just wish they would have pushed them up a few hours, man.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they could have played those games on New Year's Day earlier. I agree.
Yeah. But anyways, I'm excited.
It's all about money, Robert. It's all about money. That's why FSU's home. It's all about money.
It is, buddy. Have a good night, man. Thanks again.
Thanks again, Robert.
All right. Hey, guys, I will be Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez. Will be here with me tomorrow, Carlos. Hopefully. Looks like you're back in action here. We'll be talking about the 5 biggest games, and we'll do some recap here. Carlos been out a few weeks. We'll try to recap, and I'll give you credit for nailing the score 27-24 Alabama over Georgia. Kudos, Carlos, and I'll give you credit again when you come back on the program. So have a good night, everybody. Got a very good crowd here. Appreciate it, folks.